energy resources of United States and Europe will play a critical role in future, not only due to dependency of European Union from America, but also from the point of future economic and even defense cooperation.
How would you assess the current state of Ukrainian energy sector and resilience of Ukraine's power grid after sustained Russian strikes? And what are the most critical gaps that need urgent attention? Actually, this question is more relevant than ever because recently the whole Ukrainian region was completely cut off from electricity because of Russian strikes.
Due to recent Russian strikes, according to some estimates, Ukraine have lost approximately 2 gigawatt of generating capacities. It's quite a huge number. The most important and key factors for our resilience is still needed air defenses. It's a key factor for protecting key critical energy infrastructure. The second point I will mention, it will be a lack of resources. It means the government need to work more with our partners, foreign partners, with our partners in international institutions to make available financial resources, because it is quite important for restoration of energy system and rebuilding of key objects. Another point is, of course, it's distributed generation building, making our energy system war-proof and resilient for future energy attacks. It means that more renewable capacities should be installed. Of course, we have already good progress in this, but more distributed system we need to be more resilient, to be resilient to Russian attacks, and to pass this winter season and the next ones in more comfortable way.
In the face of sanctions, what is the current trajectory of Russia's energy sector, its revenue mix, and how limited or resilient are its export routes and customers?
Traditionally, approximately 30% of Russian budget revenues are filled by the energy export. In these revenues, their main place is taken by oil export, not gas, but oil export. And their key routes traditionally were pipelines through Druzhba, for example, pipeline, and now, due to sanctions, the key routes shifted to maritime supplies through tankers. What could be done? Of course, due to price cap, the recipients of Russian oil in Europe remain only Hungary and Slovakia through southern part of Druzhba pipeline. It depends on Ukrainian government to stop this transition, because the southern part of Druzhba pipeline is going through our territory, and it gives Russia approximately $5 billion of revenues per year, and for the 4 year of war, it approximately $20 billion of revenues only through the Ukrainian territory. As I said, the routes of supply shifted to maritime export, and now Russia uses shadow fleet of tankers. So the key points here are main export routes. So of course, Baltic Sea terminals and Black Sea terminals. In the Baltic, it's Primorsk, Ust-Luga, and in Black Sea, it's Novorossiysk, Tuapse ports. So more strikes should be directed to these points, and in this phase, due to the lack of will from our European partners in enforcement of sanctions, in this phase, the main sanctions which were imposed before, these were done by Ukrainian armed forces through its strikes on main critical infrastructure. But not many objects of export for oil in Baltics, for example, were done. So the main possibility of Russia to obtain its revenues will depend on consistency of Ukrainian strikes on the key objects of Russian infrastructure and key oil export terminals.
What could be called a critical point in Russian energy exports after which Russia will no longer be able to cover its war costs through its exports?
Of course, the very success was the Ukrainian strikes on Russian refineries. It has the result of reducing the capacities of Russian export of oil products. But for my opinion, the key points of and possibilities of Russia to obtain its revenues from oil export will be deep strikes on its territory in the export terminals for oil. It means in export terminals in the Baltic, export terminals in the Black Sea, and of course deep strikes on the export terminals in Kozmino, Sakhalin, which are far away of our reach for now. But what is very successful cases that in the mid of December, for example, we have seen the case when Ukrainian drone attack in the Mediterranean Russian tanker. Besides, there was another cases of Ukrainian attacks on the key drilling rigs in the Caspian Sea, also in the Black Sea. So this is very vulnerable point of enemy, and these strikes should be continued to make revenues flows from the export of oil less productive.
Senator Lindsey Graham reported that Trump has agreed to impose new sanctions against those who buy Russian oil. How those who will suffer from these sanctions are going to obtain them?
Here I should mention that the first mention of this draft law by Senator Lindsey Graham was in April 2025. Then there was also mention of this Blumenthal-Graham draft law in July 2025. But it was only information campaign around it, but no practical steps was done. For example, due to this information campaign, India, as the second buyer of Russian oil in the world, was afraid of secondary sanctions, and it decreased the import of Russian oil and the volumes of refining of Russian oil on its refineries in September. But then when Indian government sees that there was no actual and practical steps from the American government, they decided to renew and to make the volumes of import of Russian oil as before the annunciation of these sanctions. So nothing changed, and the success of this package of sanctions will depend only on its practical enforcement, only on its practical use, not on information campaign around it.
What are the latest safety and operational concerns around Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and what mechanisms exist to ensure civilian protection, independent monitoring, and uninterrupted cooling?
You know that Zaporizhia NPP now is supplied with electricity through Ukrainian power system. There is one line connecting it with Ukrainian territory. It's 750 kilovolt high voltage line. There was two lines, but one of them was damaged, and another, this line that I already mentioned, it also time to time is damaged. And in December, it counted 11th time when this last time was damaged, and from time to time, Zaporizhzhia and PP lost their connection with Ukrainian power systems. The main idea here is that now the Zaporizhzhia NPP is under the control of Rosatom, it's in occupation territory, and this last line, which connecting the nuclear power plant with the Ukrainian system, is quite important in geopolitical context. Russia now trying to build another line from occupied territories of Donbass to connect the Zaporizhzhia NPP to its power grid, but they managed already to build this line, but they didn't manage it to connect Zaporizhzhia NPP to this line. So now the main information campaign around Zaporizhzhia NPP is stimulated by Russia, how to make possible to disconnect Zaporizhzhia NPP entirely from the Ukrainian system and to connect it to a Russian system. And that's why they try to manipulate with information about the possible threats, possible catastrophe on it. Here, the main result will be, of course, affected by the possibility of international monitoring mission by International Atomic Agency. They should play not on the Russian side, but be as objective as possible here. And as you know, Zaporizhzhia is already the second non-resolved point in the announced peaceful negotiations. So the question of its connection will be also in future of high importance, and the possibility of Americans to make this joint enterprise with Ukrainians to control the Zaporizhzhia NPP will be also a very, very important question in the future months.
What is the state of Venezuela's oil sector today? How do sanctions and political risk influence global markets, and what implications could this have for energy security in the Americas and beyond?
We understand that due to recently proclaimed American national security strategy, they decided to restore control in the Western Hemisphere. And the case of Venezuela, this is the one puzzle from the entire picture of this restoring the control in the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela has the first explored reserves in the world. It's about 300 billion barrels, and it's about 20% of the general reserves of oil in the world. But what is quite important of Venezuelan oil, it's of it is a heavy oil and of bad quality, and it needed more resources to process this oil in the refineries. So it is not very popular on the market, on the global energy market. And the main consumer of Venezuelan oil is China for the building sector purposes. And the share of Venezuelan oil on the global oil energy market is not so big. It's about the volumes are about 1.5 million barrels per day of export, and in general the share is volatile in the global energy market, but from time to time it's changed. So Venezuelan oil does not influence the entire energy market, and we see it from the recent events, as with the recent events, the prices for the oil were not changed. Now the price for Brent is approximately $40 per barrel, and it is at the same diapason as it was during entire 2025 year. The events in Venezuela didn't influence the entire market, but what is important, of course, it is the biggest picture. But because with the Venezuelan case, USA wanted to influence China and to make for Chinese company not possible to control such countries like Venezuela, Cuba, and other countries in the Western Hemisphere. Besides, this case of Venezuela should be regarded in the one chain with Greenland case. Now United States wanted on the future week to make negotiations with Denmark government concerning the future of Greenland. Greenland is very important for China also as a strategic asset in the Arctic. Besides, it is rich for mineral resources which are critical for artificial intelligence and high technological products. So what we see in Venezuela, it's one puzzle of a future race for resources. And it is also in the context of American efforts to restore its dominance through energy resources control.
How do the United States energy exports to Europe shape European energy security, price formation, and political ties? What are the key bottlenecks and opportunities?
Here we should understand that after the full-scale invasion in 2022, European Union adopted Recovery EU strategy to abandon Russian energy resources, and after this, the main beneficiary of this policy by European Union were the United States. Why? Because the Russian gas, for example, in Europe was replaced by American LNG. If to say in terms of money, for example, only from 2021 to 2025, the first semester of 2025, the European Union imported American LNG on the sum of 121 billion euro. This is the official figure of Eurostat. Another point is that also liquid fuels like diesel from United States were also increased in export, and liquid fuels together with gas, they make approximately 300 billion euro for this 4-year period of the war in Europe and the war in Ukraine. So it will be very important in future because even in a trade agreement, United States required European Union to make its import bigger to 750 billion euro per year. So the energy resources of United States and Europe will play a critical role in future, not only due to dependency of European Union from America, but also from the point of future economic and even defense cooperation.
How are energy prices shaping domestic politics in the United States, United Kingdom, and Europe? And what signals should policymakers watch to anticipate shifts in energy diplomacy and security strategies?
Here, very illustrative example was the Mario Draghi report about the competitiveness of European Union. And mentioning this report, I should mention that Mario Draghi was the former head of European Union's central bank, and it is one of the greatest economic minds in Europe. So he mentioned that energy prices, they are the core element of industry competitiveness of the whole European Union. And for example, only in 2024, when there was energy crisis in Europe, there was a high dependency from gas, for example, when Russia decided to disrupt its supplies to Europe. Gas consists only of 20% in European energy mix. But the correlation between gas and between the electricity prices in European Union are direct, and due to this correlation, there is also a direct correlation between prices to electricity and prices to the products, final products of the industries. So in future, the price of energy resources, the price of electricity, it is considered by the officials of European Union as the key element of the competitiveness of the whole union. And this competitiveness also is highly to afford due to decarbonization policy, which also have its particularities.
Thank you very much for your expertise for this interview. As we see, despite power cut in your area, we have managed to conduct this interview. Thank you.
I will stay resilient. Thank you.